Do you know that in Vauxhall in the 60s, any woman, I worked there in the 60s, right?
Yeah.
And when you get married, you were out. They didn't employ married women in Vauxhall in their times. They do now, and they have taken her on, I think, since the 70s, but not since the 60s.
In the 1960s?
No, you couldn't work there.
Not even part-time or anything like that, you just couldn't work?
No, you were out. That was in the trim shop.
Okay.
That's where they made the seats and that. But they didn't employ any married women there. And then my husband worked there and he got his gold chain, gold watch, you know. And then my sons worked there. Two of my sons worked there. And until the factory closed down. See?
When your sons worked there, did they go into an apprenticeship system or did they just join the shop floor?
They joined at the time, but they were in apprenticeships too. They did do their apprenticeship there. And one of them done it out in the Dunstan. But since then, my son-in-law worked there, and then my daughter became an MBE 2 years ago with that, you know. So, although she was born in Luton, she's from both Irish parents, you know. So they have progressed, really.
And when your son left, when was he made redundant?
Yes.
Where did he go then? Did he move?
He found it very hard to get a job because he was in his late 40s. And he found it very hard to get a job because Vauxhall, they kept sending him on different courses as well. And he was overqualified for that. He has a terrible job then. You know? So, I mean, they've been in these agency jobs and 0 hours and things like that, you know, that one of them is not even working now, he's still trying to get a job.
What area of the town are you from? Farley Hill? Or?
No, I'm not far from it. I'm in the town centre, in Ashton Road.
Where did your children go to school?
St Margaret's of Scotland, and then the Cardinal Newman.
Okay. And how did you feel? What was your schooling like?
Well, I worked in Vauxhall in the 1959, and then, as I said, when you were married, you were out. So I got out and I started.
But before you joined Vauxhall, did you come over for work here from Ireland?
I was brought over here with my mother and father and my brothers and sisters, the whole family.
But had you finished your school by that time?
I was 19.
Oh, you were 19. So you've done your schooling in Ireland?
I was working in Ireland. And I was working in a good job in Ireland, but my father, he was a carpenter. And he cut his fingers on the saw. And they said that they'd give him a job for the rest of his life, you know, if he didn't claim. So my father never claimed, but he never got a rise. And then as we were growing up, I was earning more money than my father. In 1959, he was only getting £7, 5 shillings, where I could make up to £10 on piecework in the job I'd done in Chapel Lizard. You know?
So your parents decided to come over here?
They brought the whole family up.
Because they wanted to better themselves?
Yes, because my mother's brothers was over here in the army and that, and they were saying how great it is and at least get jobs in Vauxhall.
So you'd heard about Luton before you came, you knew Luton was where you were coming to?
No, I didn't know. But it was only on the spur of the moment my father said, that's it, we're going to England.
And then when he got here, he got to work at Vauxhall?
He worked in Skefco.
Oh, Skefco.
My brothers worked in Vauxhall.
Oh, okay, so your sons then went to Cardinal Newman, and their children, do they have any children?
Yeah, they went to St Margaret's, and they also, my grandchildren went to Cardinal Newman and St Margaret's in Scotland.
Cardinal Newman's a very good school, I see, looking at it.
It was then, I don't know about it now. There seems to be a lot of bullying and that sort of thing, but it's not so bad.
Yeah, yeah. So does that sound like a lot for a lot of you, that pattern that you came over in the 50s or the 60s, early 60s for work? Was that the main reason for coming to Luton?
Yeah, I came over in 1962. I had a job in Ireland actually, but I was engaged to be married. So I said I'd come over here, and I didn't drink or smoke, plenty of football, but I couldn't save up any money because the wages were only £3 something. But anyway, I got myself, after the work with the farmer, I went up to Bordnamona, the Bog of Allen, and that was piecework, so I earned good money there.
Yeah.
And I was there, it was shift work, night and day. So anyway, I was engaged to be married in 62, so we said, I had a brother over in England, in Finchley actually, and my lady friend had a sister in Luton, so vice versa, back and forth. So I didn't like Finchley. I stayed there for 6 months. I came down to Luton, and I got married in Luton in 63 in Castle Street. I worked in the building for a year, and then I heard about Vauxhall, so I went down for an interview. I got my interview, and I started in Vauxhall in 1964, and I did 30 years and 3 months. I left it in 94, November 94. So.
And when you were at Vauxhall, did you get training? Did they offer you training?
No, I was labouring first for 2 years. Then when I got my job, I was always a driver.
You were driving.
So I went to the driving school for a week,
Yeah.
to learn the fork trucks and the tractors and to delivering the stuff around. And
Yeah.
look, I worked in all over the factory.
Yeah.
I used to look after him as well. He used to keep me on my toes,
Yeah.
running around with stuff on the line that was urgent.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was month about nights.
Yeah.
Then my family started coming up, so it wasn't.
How many children have you got?
I had 4, 2 of each.
Yeah. And did they went to school in Luton?
They did, yeah. Lee Manor, so.
Oh, they went to Lee Manor. That's Marsh Farm, right?
Yeah, Marsh Farm, that's right, yeah.
So is that where you ended
Yes, I was in Marsh Farm, yeah.
okay. And are you still in Marsh Farm, or are you?
No, I'm still in Marsh Farm. I'm still in the same place.
Yeah. So you've been there.
During the Vauxhall, we got, I can't remember the year when Vauxhall changed over to IBC. Anyway, they gave it when we went that time we used to get wages every week, but then they changed to a month, so we got a bit of money for changing over, and that's how I put down my deposit for my house. So, so Vauxhall to me was a good place to work.
Yeah.
But it wasn't easy. It was hard with knives and the press shops. Eugene will tell you different those. But it was a job, and a good job.
And was there a very good community spirit?
We go on well. We met all nationalities all over the world.
They used to take the children on
that's right. That's right, yes. They went, they did.
And they'd have an activity day in the ground. Oh, they were very good to their employees.
Oh, yeah, they did, yeah.
Gaelic football ground, of course.
Oh, yeah, the Gaelic football and the rugby and the football. It was all there.
And they had a good canteen, club sort of thing.
Yes,
it was really good.
They used to have dances every weekend, I think, ballroom dancing, wasn't it? I never went, but...
What about the braces? You're going now.
They used to
I would go now, that's a chance.
The braces deal, was it?
The brace,
That's Gypsy Lane.
Yeah, the ground there. That's where they used to have the fun day for the kids every year. And then they used to bring them onto pantomimes into Cambridge for the Christmas. So they were very good.
The annual sports meeting used to be held in the...
we had an annual sports day as well.
The first time I flew in any sort of aircraft down the Vauxhall Recreation Club, it wasn't in a fixed wing aircraft, it was on a helicopter. There was just a pilot and passengers sitting on either side of it. It cost £1.50 to... You're up in the air a few minutes. 5 minutes.
Frank wasn't, he was a bit higher than me, he worked in the offices, so he's a different story to tell.
But But just to go back, so where were your children? Where did they go to school? Did they went to
Lee Manor,
Lee Manor. And they all
it was
went
good
there?
school, they all went there, and they all did well. My younger son is an electrician, and my eldest son is he's a good job as well. I don't know. And the two daughters are married.
And they're still
married
in the area.
to English people, and they have their own family, so...
Yeah, and they still live in Luton area.
Oh yes, they're all around Luton.
Yeah.
I know where they are, I know if I need them, and they know where I am if they need me. But I do my own job, that's it.
And what about the grandchildren? Are they at school age yet?
Oh yeah, I have 10 grandchildren.
Oh, you've got 10 grandchildren.
I've one of them 23 years of age.
What do they do?
Oh God, don't ask me. Oh, I haven't a clue.
Yeah.
She's working in London anyway, that's all I know.
In London.
Don't in some computers, I suppose.
Yeah.
One of my grandchildren is a hairdresser.
Yeah.
And the other fellow is in the army.
Oh, they all did well, They all did well.
Yeah. So you were happy with the schools here?
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah.
Although I never went to school here, but...
For your children?
Well, funny you saying that. In 1963, I think it was, I wasn't very well educated. I couldn't spell or write or anything. And this teacher from St. Margaret's of Scotland, I had written a note, and of course it was all rubbish.
Yeah.
And she said to me, I'll get you some adult education. And she got me into Charles Street. They used to have adult education there in the school. Yeah. And since then, I'm all right.
Yeah. And that was from the school, the children's school? That was
from St. Margaret's of Scotland, yeah. First of all, they sent me out a teacher in the house.
Yeah.
And then they sent me to Charles Street. And when I went to Charles Street, they told me to do a competition. And of course, my spelling was ridiculous. But I done the competition, and I got the best prize, because what I done was about something like what you're doing.
Yeah.
When I came to Luton, the Arndale Centre wasn't there. You know, things like that. I noticed that thing, you know. So it's different.
So for your children, there was a real progression then. They got good schooling.
They got good schooling, One of them became an MBE.
Yeah.
My youngest daughter.
And how did you, when they went to school, how did you feel? Did you feel comfortable with the school? Did you feel you could go up the school? Did you feel intimidated by the teachers? Or
well, I did, because I couldn't spell or I couldn't read. But my husband used to go up and he used to tell me about how good they do. When they'd come back with their results every year, I used to say, oh, that's great, that's great. And my husband would say, that's bloody rubbish. You know, they can do better than them. And that's big.
Did you feel that when you came over you wanted your children to do better? Did you feel that was a big...
I didn't think I'd ever get married to have children. I was too religious, girl. Go to church every day and go to...
Every day?
Every day down to St. Joseph's Church, because I lived on Libre Road. My mother and father lived there. And you'd be around the corner on Monday night, the Legion of Mary, or Tuesday night, or then the Miraculous Medal, and you know, there was always something on the church. I never thought get married.
Well, as you're saying with the education, I had a problem with education in Ireland. Simple reason I was left-handed. And the nuns used to batter hell out of me because I'd done it. And even now, if somebody came up behind me and I was doing something, I'd stop. I cannot write in front of anybody at the back. I have to come to the front.
So you're now right-handed, are you?
No, I'm left-handed still. I just said to them, and I decided that I wasn't going to change. Still with battering. And then my mum was doing the same because the nun had told her that he has to do it. You know. And then my mum read it in the paper that it was bad to change somebody over from left-handed to right-handed, and then she wrote up and said to them, like, you know, but the harm was done. Like, you know,
how did they treat you afterwards when they found out that it was okay?
Well, one of the nuns was, I didn't speak to her and she didn't speak to me. Let's put it that way. Like, you know, because every time there was something like, then my niece started school there, And of course, the first day, she's nervous, she's everything, and she wet herself.
Yeah.
And of course, there was a puddle on the floor.
Yeah.
And this nun again
Yeah.
got a hold of me and got me in there, and I think she mustn't have liked me anyhow, because I was
The
dead.
nuns.
And she says to me,
Clean
she
it
said,
up.
look at that.
Yeah.
She says, look what your niece just done. She says, you better clean it up. I said, well, I don't do it at home, and I'm not going to do it here. And I grabbed the hold of her and walked home. And I got home, told the mother, she battered me. And I got back to school, got battered again. So I was glad when 15, when I came, even the teacher didn't even know I left school. He came, I worked in the garage, and he came in, and he had a pump shop. And I went out and got it out of the car for him, and everyone walked in, and he says, what are you doing? I said, I'm fixing your pump shop. He says, but you're supposed to be at school. I said, I've left. That was it, he didn't even know. And no qualifications. No.
I don't know much about the Irish system. There was, because in Britain there was this thing that when we introduced compulsory education in 1944, there was a free system, the free schools. There was the grammar school, the comprehensive, and the technical school.
Yeah, yeah.
But what was it like in Ireland?
You had a tech,
Yeah, we had
you
a
had
tech,
a largy as well. Like you went from the nuns into a largy school.
Yeah.
But you could go to the tech or the secondary.
Was that the 11, age 11?
The first school was the national school.
No.
14,
Yeah.
14, you leave at 14.
That was the secondary school, the vocational school, and the university college.
So the national school, you would stay there till you were what age?
But,
We left 14,
up to 14,
that's when I
people
left
said
14.
I left at 15.
13,
Yeah,
14
Yeah,
was
I know
the...
that.
yeah.
Had to go back again, but didn't I?
But the thing is, with the kids these days, the education that they get
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Oh, fantastic,
And
yeah.
you can walk in, we had to say sir, and if you didn't know it, the minute he told you something and you didn't know it, you got caned.
Oh, you got the slap across the hand,
Oh,
big
I
here,
did,
there.
umpteen times. And then, when I went home years afterwards, I met one of my teachers, and he was out on a school night, on a Wednesday night, stone drunk. And that's what, every morning he used to come in, he could hear a pin drop because being drunk still from the night before.
Yeah.
And he would just get you out and he'd cane you for nothing.
Some of them were hard.
Oh, they were very hard. I
You
didn't
were,
like
even if you were late in for roll call, 9 o'clock, you were late in, especially for a winter's morning, sliding and that, as you live out in the country, we used to be, there used to be hands to be called.
You had to blow on your hands, didn't you?
My God, all day.
Yeah. You had to blow,
Oh, they were hard.
warm your hand up.
Yeah.
And all they had was a stove there, a big open fire, and they had their behind to it all day. And you were at the back frozen, like, you know. So
And we had a school,
wasn't
just
it?
big square, with a division in the middle, husband and wife, teacher, she had the little ones, up to second class.
Yeah.
And then we used to go into the master then, third, fourth, fifth and sixth.
Yeah.
And he would have what, 40 or 50 in one room. The mistress had 40, so we were there. Yeah, it was hard.
Mixed ages,
We got the basics. We got this far in life.
Yeah. But nothing compared to what your children got then.
Oh,
Well, I
no,
said,
no.
like, I mean, I've only got one son.
It's different
Yeah.
now.
And I thought to myself, well, he will not go down the same road. Like, I mean, he will have a good education. And what I done was, on his work experience, I brought him into the Vauxhall and showed him, because don't forget, Vauxhall was great to us, and don't
Oh,
forget
yeah, it was good.
But if you're on the line, you're like a zombie. You're doing a job that you don't
That
even
line was
think
moving
about.
all the time. You had a
You're
section.
doing the
yeah.
same job day in, day out,
Yeah.
and that's all you could do.
It was.
And that was monotonous,
Oh,
really.
it was,
and I said to him, you do that, and that's what if you don't do well at school, that's what you'll do.
Yeah.
You remember years ago when they had the hotel in George Street? What was it called?
George Hotel.
George Hotel. Every Thursday night, all the whole crowd of Vauxhall would be down there dancing their head, you know. And with the result, they really did make, you know, a companionship. They always formed. And I don't think any of them, a lot of them are still friends now from them days.
Yeah.
From the George with the Vauxhall, the dancing and that. There used to be a doorman called Jimmy Ingalls. He was a boxer. And he boxed with Eamon Andrews, the late Eamon Andrews. He used to be on the door. It was him who introduced me to my husband. He'd say to me, I've got a smashing fella for you, Claire. And then at the same time he turned around to Tommy and he said, oh, she's a terrific driver. You know, things like that.
Yeah.
That it really made.
Yeah.
the Vauxhall. I wouldn't meet them if I hadn't been down in Vauxhall, you know.
There seems to have been a real big community spirit though. There's a sports club still now. I mean, it's not. I don't know if it's Vauxhall owned anymore.
No, it's IBC.
Yeah.
But not the same atmosphere there now.
There's not.
No. You either work or just go. You know where the door is.
Yeah.
That's their attitude now, because everybody's looking for a job these days.
Yeah.
So they can do without you. If you're not doing the job and you're not up to scratch, out you get. And that's it.
Yeah. So what did your son do then? He went to...
Well, he was my... I'm not sure he went to university.
Yeah.
He went up to Harriet Watts in Edinburgh. Yeah. And he's an electrical engineer now in Manchester.
Oh.
So
which school did he go to in Luton?
He went to Bushmead and then he went to Stopsley High School.
Yeah.
Like when we went to Bushmead, we had problems with the head teacher, like, picking on him and things like that. And, I went down there and I sorted him out.
Why
well, you do, don't you? You don't want that. You don't want that. There was days he wouldn't want to go to school.
Why was he picked on then?
Well, there was young lads, like, he couldn't spell, like, but we didn't know this, like, and they used to, the same what we did at school, like the zoo, somebody'd do all the spelling, and then you went out to him, and then he'd ask you the spelling, and then whichever one you missed out on, he'd say to the teacher, oh, I missed this one, or I didn't get that one.
Yeah.
So the same with they were doing it down there. Yeah. And of course this kid was making fun of him, and on a Tuesday he would not want to go to school. Oh. So we found out then what it was, and we said, went down and seen the teacher, like, and I said, this is not happening, like, So
you don't mind?
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. It's so good to hear. Everyone's so interesting. I mean, I don't know what it's like. I hope it's interesting for all of you. It's interesting for me, listening.
But as I say, at the end of the day, we found out the problem. We got in an experienced person into teaching, and he came along with it. Then he had a bit of problems because he had to learn maths to be an electrical engineer. So we got teacher in again and got him done. So I wanted him to have a good education rather than me. But the thing with them was they could go in there and say, we had to say, so I met my teacher on the golf course in Clones, and he was 88, 2 big hearing aids in, like, and I met him and I said to him, hello sir, still saying sir to him, like, and I said, do you remember me? He says, you do that to me.
Forget.
No, he didn't. And he says to me, they all do that to me. He says, when you were at school, he says, did you have a beard and long trousers? He says, no, you had short trousers on and no beard, did you? And all this carry on, like, He says, they all do that. He said, I can't remember them. So it was that.
So your son, is he now at university or is he finished?
No, he's finished. He's now, he's been working for about 5 years now as an electrical engineer.
And does he come back to, is in Manchester?
Yeah, in Manchester.
And does he want to come back to Luton, or is he happy?
No, he's happy in Manchester because he's settled down, he's married there, he's married a Chinese girl. And I've got a granddaughter now, she's 18 months and she speaks both English and Chinese. Yeah, I tell you.
Wow.
I don't know when she swears at me in Chinese, if it is swearing. But yes.
So the basis of our education, we passed rather quickly over it, like,
Yeah, we did.
And that's very important because most of us came here with very little confidence. That's one of the main things about education is confidence, whether it gives you confidence to be yourself or not. But the Ireland of our years, when we were educated in the national school, the local parish was formed of, dominated by the parish priest, the local teacher, and a few of the local Garda Síochána.
That's right.
They were the power people in the community, and very often the teacher was feared. Education was very often based on fear.
Correct, you're right.
Fear. And that had an absolutely terrible effect on the people who had to immigrate. I mean, the people who arrived here from the immigrant ship had very little confidence in their own self and their own very existence or their own ability. So that was the start, you know. And nowadays, of course, the system of education over there has changed quite dramatically, and the education system, I believe, is excellent over there.
It is.
But in our days, fear was the word.
Yeah.
And the local parish priest, of course, the teacher kind of paid homage to the local parish priest, and the parish priest was the absolute.
We were all afraid. We were all afraid.
Absolute head of that.
We were terrified.
Yeah. And there was a lot of physical punishment, it sounds like.
Well, this is it.
With the strap.
That's right.
Or the cane. They used to have straps. I think.
Or the knuckles in the head.
Knuckles?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to emphasise that.
No,
that's the basis from which we came, you know, and we had to make our way here and learn to build our confidence and get educated, and you know, it wasn't easy.
Do you think what separated you from the people that didn't come over? Do you think that what made you? Were you aspirational, or were you desperate? What made you think that you came over? Or your parents to come over? Were you needing work, or did you just want to progress?
I think to better yourself.
Yeah.
In a sense, like
I came to better myself.
Yeah.
I was getting married, got more money, and.
First of all, there was absolutely no work.
Yeah.
You know,
that
was the main reason that
it's exactly the same now again, isn't it?
And the ones who were, you know, got no work, had to do something, so they had to go away. But you know, immigration kind of dominated the whole west coast of Ireland: Mayo, Galway, Kerry, Roscommon, Leitrim, all down Donegal. And
even in the Midlands, Frank.
Even in the Midlands, yeah. And,
like Offaly and Laois and Kildare.
Somebody to look at me now, they never think that I used to plough with a pair of horses on my father's farm. And so I was 17 at the time. I went to when I was going to national school, all the boys had left because you know, they were turned 13 to go to the vocational school, and mother told me to go to the secondary school. Went there for 4 years. I hated every minute of it. Sometimes we used to wait outside for about half an hour until the Irish lesson was over. We come in then, and Hamilton asked me. He said, "Have you got any excuse for being late?" I said, "I hadn't." He said, "You won't come in late for a while again." He said, "Hold out your hand." He gave me 3 as hard as he could. He said, "Hold out your other hand." He gave me another 3. And he said, "Come on again." And he gave me another 3. Come on again. There'll be about 12 steps. And he said, "Come on again." And I wouldn't put my hand out. He said, "Are you going to?" And I put my hands into my trousers pocket, he boiled over, and it was a private secondary school in a semi-derelict building. The sash guards were broken, and there was a stick in the corner of the, you know, to hold the window sash up. And he said to the boy, "Larry was pouring." He spat in his hand, and he said, "Give me that stick." He said, "Larry was pouring." Larry's pouring came over the stick, and he spat in his hand. He said, "One bike tries to make an example of you." Before he could connect the stick, I caught him by the throat and I pushed him away from me. He fell over the desk, and his heels were higher than his head. He threw me out of school. He went back up the road. Then we come back, there were only about 5 in the intermediate class, you know, the intermediate class, and there was only 1 on a leaving certificate. And I said, my mother, I had to pay a fee about 4 guineas a month. And I hate every minute of it. I couldn't comprehend algebra. There was some subject like English. You didn't need a teacher to teach you English. But if I had algebra and arithmetic and trigonometry and like that, I found it impossible. years afterwards, when I came to England, I went to continent for the first time, sailing from Dover to Ostend. I seen Cal. He was the headmaster because he made degrees. He went to the continent. He said he couldn't place me with. He'd place me already if I told him what I did to Hamilton. Hamilton was the fellow who organised the secondary school. He was on a BE with Cal. In one respect, he was a genius. In another respect, he was a raving lunatic. Now, there was cases where someone told me he spent about 7 years in lunatic asylums.
So when did you come over?
I came in 1952. I was here before the coronation. I had, I said about a third generation immigrant because...
You were here in time for the coronation?
Yes. My grandfather and my... I came... Most of them came on the Princess Maud. I came on a different route. The Cork Fish Guard, or the vessel called Innisfallen. There's been livestock on the lower deck, like what are car decks now. And I got into Paddington. My aunt's husband was waiting for me and he took me up there, and he has some connections that got me into De Havilland and Leavesden. I was on a boys' rate. I was only about 10.5 pence an hour or something like that. Very small. And I was there for a couple of years, and there was, National Service conscription. I got called up and I did 2 years at, in the RAF. I did square bash. I was issued a kit at Carlington and Bedford. Then there was a special troop train took us to Bridgenorth and Shropshire, and we did a square bashing. Then we got a free travel pass to go and leave after the 2 months, and I went over to Ireland, and I used to get 2 travel warrants in a year. And, I even met fellows, persons I knew in Ireland in the RAF.
So how did you come to Luton then?
When I was working in Watford, and there was much doing in the Havillands, and I came over about 4 months before that. I went to the employment office, and there was Danny Barry, fellow from he was on the queue, for a job interview. He never got into Vauxhall after, and they sent for me in January. I went into the employment about August, and they said I could start as soon as I was available. So from North Watford, Garston, 3 Hours Pub, with the catch the 321 bus here. There was an early morning busman's fare that if it ended before 8 o'clock, it only cost 1 shilling, 12 old pence.
And how long did you work at Vauxhall for?
37 years. I've been gone about 20.
Around this room, a couple of 100 years, almost, especially.
A lot of years.
Yeah.
It was a good place to work.
And did you work at Vauxhall's?
I just worked at Vauxhall for 2 years because I worked in the canteen.
Oh, okay.
And I left out my children. So.
Yeah. And did your husband work at Vauxhall?
Yeah, my husband worked. He worked about 38 years.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And,
because I think sometimes...
Because Gold Watch and...
Yeah, I heard, I read some things about the women who were working there, and in the 70s particularly, there was the shops. There was I think it was a Sainsbury's in West Side.
Yes.
And every Friday lunchtime, they would
run there
yes. In the lunch break, get their shopping for the week, and then run back and hope somebody would come with them.
That was in George Street, was it?
Was it
Sainsbury's?
It was in the big one. There was a big one in West Side.
No, there's a big one in the West.
Yeah.
You know the one on the West Side.
Not
Lidl is
get the
no
bus and go in.
Yeah.
You are right.
Never Lidl is.
Go in and get our shopping.
There was a gas box. There was a gas box.
Yeah, the gas works from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the shops opposite the Vauxhall, I don't know which road it's on, they're all virtually closed now. And but there were pictures of them, they're just thriving.
But
because people nipping back.
Canteens.
Yeah.
You remember Green Shield stamps?
They had about 4.
Yeah, the Green Shield stamps.
4
Give you an
canteens.
idea. And the main canteen was huge.
It was.
Absolutely
Big.
wasn't it?
Yeah, I've got a photo of it.
And they had everything in the kitchens were just all stainless steel at that time.
Yeah.
You mean you get stainless steel now.
But that was
At
the
that
top
time,
of the
everything
range.
was stainless steel.
And was it the workers and staff and management could sit together? Because at one point they couldn't.
No, it was divided.
Oh, separated.
Was that all the way through? When did that
It was
stop?
called the Vauxhall Recreation Club, wasn't it? The canteen on the...
That's right, they had their
Vauxhall
own.
Recreation.
Yeah, a great
And
There
club.
was, there was a doctor by the name of Pocock up in the Vauxhall. I think he got a sack because he was taking aside a bacon out of the canteen and put it into his car.
But they served everything.
Yeah.
But the same with the toilets as well. I mean, there were staff toilets and hourly paid toilets.
But did that go all the way through?
Separate canteens, weren't they?
Oh yeah, that's yes, yes.
When did it stop?
That must have stopped in the 80s, isn't it?
I
I think
don't know when it
around,
stopped.
I would think
There, but-
I would think around the 80s that would have stopped then. Because even with the hourly pay, the toilet, there was the staff. Foreman's toilet was just there. You couldn't use it.
Yeah.
We used to do so, just the purpose of
That lady was saying
Before,
work if you were
you know what I mean,
married.
canteens closed down,
Yeah.
they had
But you couldn't
pots with
count
rubber
it.
plants in
My
them.
twin,
You know, like
28
one with
years.
big broad
in
green
the
leaves.
canteen. She was married for about 28
But
years.
because she.
So it must have been on the
Shop
the factory floor that she
Yeah.
did work, because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, anyone know that?
What's that?
She was, the lady that's gone, Claire,
Yeah.
was saying that once you were married.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. No, I didn't.
I didn't know that either.
No, I
But
didn't
my
know that.
twin that
Yeah.
was married,
Yeah,
and she worked 28 years,
yeah,
but not in the canteen,
yeah.
but not in the.
On the train.
No, so I didn't know that
No,
you had to be.
no.
I
didn't.
I don't think that was.
I never heard
I'm
of
not
that.
No.
sure. I'm not
In,
sure.
Yeah, maybe it was in the early stage
Yeah,
then. I
it may
think
have
they
been.
may have phased that out. by
your
70s.
sister worked in a place called A Block
That's the one I'm
Cafeteria.
talking about, my twin. She lives
A
in
Block
Ireland.
Cafeteria.
Yeah.
Sorry?
It wasn't a fully fledged canteen, they called it cafeteria. One in
Yeah.
A Block.
Yeah, she run yeah. And she's back in Ireland now, living.
Oh, she's gone back to Ireland.
She went back to Ireland, yeah.
Are you, so your children, did you have children here?
I have 5 children.
And are they still here or are they?
They're all here.
Yeah. And whereabouts did they go to school?
Well, they went almost to the same school,
Yeah.
the Catholic schools,
Yeah.
but the youngest 2 didn't,
Yeah.
because I'd moved and it wasn't convenient.
Yeah.
But they've all done really well.
Yeah.
3 of them with master degrees. So
Oh, great. So did they?
very
went-
clever children. I
they-
wasn't clever, but they are.
But they went on to university then,
I
did
think
they?
they
Where they got it from, eh?
Yeah.
It was there. It was
Yeah.
See, that's really good, isn't it? Because it's just interesting to see how, as you said, about coming over, feeling, you know, it wasn't that you weren't clever, it wasn't that you weren't bright, it's just that you weren't allowed to be.
But
And
people
when-
Yeah, well, the thing
You
is,
were frightened.
the thing is, in Ireland, the better educated ones, or the ones with the
Stay.
cleverer ones, kind of stayed at home,
Yeah.
and they, you know, all down
Yes.
the west coast, well, all over Ireland, there was
All
nothing
over.
but small farms with big families. Big families. They might have 7, 8, 9, 10 children.
Yeah.
And that farm just couldn't possibly support all those. So when they got to 14 and 15, there was only the one exit.
Yeah.
The one exit, and that was immigration. And England was a godsend as far as a lot of us were concerned.
After, World War II, the ones that went to America, they were drafted into the American Army to fight in Korea and Vietnam and things like that.
Yeah. Well, you were in the British Army, weren't you?
The RAF. Not the khakis.
Is that not British Army? Yeah. But they were saying there about 25 years.
Yeah.
You worked 25 years there, you could get a watch.
Gold watch or a clock.
Yeah.
And I was there, when my 25 years came up, I sort of then you could get a bangle or a bracelet for your wife. Instead of getting a watch, I had a gold watch, so I didn't want one, so I got that for her. And when I got there, John Barber, it was all the managers, and the big dinner, sit around, big table with them all there. It was a freebie for them all the time, wasn't it? And drink, you had your drink there and everything like that. So when it come to my turn, he called us up, like, you mean, and he said, in this room, he says, this guy's done something that none of you have done in this room. And I thought, he says, first of all, he's given his wife the bangle, and none of you have done that tonight. And of course, that started a row on our table, like, you know, the wives are looking at each other. Your wife is allowed to come then. She got a bouquet of flowers and that. And he says, secondly, he says, this guy's been here, as you know now, 25 years, and he's never had a day off, sick, or anything in his life in 25 years.
Oh my God.
So, so he says to me, why did you not have time off? I said, I couldn't fill in the forms. But a week later, I was climbing a ladder at the house, and I fell off and broke my arm. So I'd be off for a week off work. And but I went up and I broke my hand. And went up there, and they said, oh, you'll be off for a few months, like you mean with this. So I said to them up at the hospital, I said, do you never ask anybody what they actually do, work at? And she said, pardon? I said, well, did you ask me what I work at? And then they said, well, what do you work at? I said, I'm a supervisor. So I said, I can walk around with the other hand, and this one, there's no problem. Oh, well, we'll give you a week off so you don't knock it, and then you can go back to work. So that's what I did.
But you haven't mentioned anything about the social setup in Luton. You know how the Irish integrated into the community, whether they, you know, how they got on, generally speaking. Now, I think we kind of birds of a feather is the old adage. It says birds of a feather flock together, and that is naturally what we did. We kind of. I came to London in 1955, and the first thing I looked for was an Irish dancehall, which happened to be the Galtimore, and that was where I spent most of my social life, apart from having a couple of drinks, maybe during the break. And but generally speaking, we kind of sought one another out, and we didn't in particular integrate, even though we got on well as far as work was concerned. We got on well with the people who were living or were working next to us, and we got on well with them. But why? Well, as I said, birds of a feather kind of flocked together, and we were Catholics, of course, as well, most of us, and most of us came from the south as well. But you know,
it's interesting because that's the one thing which when I've been looking through all these old interviews is the number of people that lived on Farley Hill, and I hadn't realised how there must have been. There's 229 interviews. I'd say maybe 25% of them are Irish, the ones I've looked through, and a lot of them are Farley Hill.
Did they say they were Irish then?
Yeah, because they said where they came from.
Yeah.
And most of them come over, like you said, like yourselves, for work, and they were, you know, making ends meet at that time. It was interesting because the interviewer at the time was allowed to have a sheet at the back, and he was able to write the comments. And if you imagine, these are very well-educated, in the 1960s, Cambridge students, and they have no idea about working class life, and they're saying things like, well, they haven't got any carpet on the floor, they've got lino, you know, which was the way it was, because everybody was, you know, getting and borrowing and doing things as they went along.
Like when I came over, I lived with my brother, and he was married to an English girl, and next door neighbour came to the door, and I happened to answer the door. Which I had seen her and they'd spoken to her across the pale and all like that. And I said, oh, she's upstairs, come on in. So I brought her in and she sat down and waited for her to come down. And when she left, my sister-in-law said, we don't invite people into the house. I said, in Ireland, the key's left in the door. I said, well, the door is wide open, they come straight in. It was a different culture, and that was hard to get round. And like, for a simple thing, I brought my niece down, she laughed, and we were looking for pair of gutties, as we call them in Ireland, and she gutties, which were plimsolls.
Oh yeah.
And I went into the shop and asked for a pair of gutties, and she went potted, as you did. And my niece says, he wants flipsos, black ones, which was funny. And I had to start getting used to words. And when I went on courses at Vauxhall, as you go up the ladder in it, they were using words that I had not got a clue what they were saying. And it was a whole different, because where we use a short word, they were using these great big words, so they were hard. Plus, on the line, there was people there, English ones, that would say, you shouldn't be here taking our jobs and things like that. We had a lot of that, you know.
But actually, at that time in the 1960s, the recruiting of Vauxhalls, they were recruiting everywhere.
Well, they were.
And the 70s.
Yeah. And they were giving £5.
And you got Comer cars as well, and you got Skeffco's, and you got George Kent's, and all those places. And they were all looking for people.
Yeah. Somebody had said if you left a job on a Friday, you could get another one on a Monday.
That's right.
At that time,
not like that now.
Well, as I say, there as well, you could the young lads would work all winter in Vauxhall, and then go out to the buildings in the summer, and then come back to the Vauxhall in the winter again. You couldn't do that then as time went on.
But when I talked before about integration into the local community, kind of, you know, that wasn't entirely our own fault. Like, you know, we're a friendly kind of a race,
too friendly,
and we talk to anybody and anybody who talks to us, because the English weren't particularly friendly, you know. I mean, they just kind of ignored you, kind of, you know. And
most of them.
You carried on with your life.
It's interesting because at that stage, looking at the what was happening in Luton, it grew very, very quickly because people came from everywhere. People came from Wales. My dad was a Geordie, but come via London. Everybody came from everywhere. And I think everybody was a little bit apprehensive about who they were with because they didn't know. And I began to think that on Farley Hill there must have been, or was there not, I don't know, a policy when you got housed in local authority council housing, whether they say, oh, let's put all the Irish up in Farley Hill, because I was on Houghton Regents, and it was all London Overspill. You know, that's where they
I don't know whether there was a policy like that or not, but
well, I think Gardenia there was loads of people out there.
I wouldn't be surprised. We wouldn't know about it. We wouldn't have a clue.
You would just been given it.
Just grateful. They were given a house in a certain place.
I just wondered because I began to see that there were certain areas where there were predominantly one grouping or another. And was it accident, or did you say, oh, I want to be with my friend?
Well, I was with my brother, so that's why I was involved.
So maybe that's why it was sort of kinship. You know,
or maybe family already there, so you came to them.
I was glad to get a house anywhere.
Well, that's the thing. We all, I mean, you know, because my mum and dad had been living with my mum's mother, so my grandmother for years. And when she came, she had 3 children, and you know, they were just glad to have a house. Everybody was just.
And also more than likely, in some areas that was the easiest way where to get a house, like from the council, because everybody was in council houses.
I know. I was listening to a television programme last night about accommodation in London, and what an absolute scandal it is now. Absolute scandal, the conditions under which people have to live and have to exist, and it was absolutely terrible. But I remember when I came here in 1955, and after 5 years I got married and had a family. But the accommodation situation then was absolutely desperate as well.
Jerry Trimmin did have houses.
Absolutely terrible it was. And that was the reason. I remember one day after travelling all over London looking for accommodation when the first baby was going to arrive, and we were told by the landlady, if you have a child, you're out. So I travelled all over the length and breadth of London, you know, looking for accommodation, and absolutely, you couldn't afford it anyway. So I remember being one day down near in Cricklewood near the Galtimore, and I looked at an estate agent's window, and I saw the word Luton on there, and houses for sale, and the prices were absolutely, sorry.
The teacher's not looking at me. When we were in school, when you had to go to the toilet, we always had to put our hand up and say, go ahead.
Well, we used to say we can't always on the mop.
He wants us to wait to come back.
You had to say it in Gaelic as well.
Where was it?
Put them up the law.
Where was it? Anyway,
Put them up the law.
I saw this advert, and so I decided, well, I want to go to Luton. So I came to Luton, had a look around, and decided very, very quickly, because of the price of that. I think it was just under £1,000 was the price of that. Yeah. I remember my first mortgage was £16, 5 and 10 pence a month. Yeah. And so I decided fairly quickly that I was going to move. Yeah. And I did, and
you see, because you could just about afford it, especially on a Vauxhall wage.
Vauxhall
wage would allow
with the overtime and things like that, you don't.
Yeah, there were 2 in the family working at some point. I mean, that's how I think a lot of families did buy.
Yeah. So we have a lot to be grateful to them for. They gave us a chance in life. They gave us a job. They gave us accommodation. They gave us a house to live in.
And the benefit system.
It's amazing, really, when you think about it. You come to a place like Luton, and you don't have to do anything particular. You just go into an estate agent, and if you've got the money, you can buy a house. There's no kind of research into who you are or what you are or anything like that. We're Irish, you came here, and that was when we just came here, settled here, and slowly we built our community up. We built the churches, we built the schools, the Cardinal Newman, and all the other schools around it were solely built on the initiative or the volume of the immigration from Ireland and from the north of England as well.
You remember the old Waller Street before the Arndale Centre was built, and then there was school there.
There was
swimming baths.
There was no Arndale Centre when I came here. There was
the shops and things.
There was a market, wasn't there?
Yeah, the market and that. Yeah, it was nice.
There was an open air market.
That's right. Yeah.
And there
was
was
nice little streets were.
It's a shame, isn't it?
It is.
Look back
there was the George Hotel, which was the social centre of the town actually at the time.
And you had children, did you hear?
Yes, I had 3 children.
Yeah,
yes.
And are they?
They all went to the Cardinal Newman School.
Yeah.
And one of them has died, unfortunately. And but you know, they've done quite well. They're still in well, one is in Berkhamsted and the other one is still in Luton, you know.
Yeah.
But
you were happy with their education. You have, I mean, Cardinal Newman. It's quite interesting looking at it. It's stayed pretty constant all the way through. It's done well. Lots of schools have gone up and down. But the results of Cardinal Newman from when they started publishing results have always been good. They've been good reports, good Ofsteds, all this sort of thing. It's always been very good. And it's interesting because it is a predominantly Irish school. Well, it is mainly an Irish school.
Well, I don't think it is now, but
was
then.
My grandson was there, my granddaughter.
Yeah.
It's still it's one of the best schools still.
Yeah.
We have an Irish class now. He's a good man at talking the Gaelic.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Anyway, I'll choose myself.
Well, thank you so much. It's really interesting. Thank you.
Okay.
And also, I met my wife at Vauxhall. She was my chaser. I used to chase the material to the line, and she'd feed it to the line. And we didn't let anybody know we were going out with each other, and we had to. She'd say, "Oh, will you help us with this?" And I said, "I can't help you. If I help you, I have to help everybody else." And I met her there.
I think there were quite a few romances at
Yes.
Vauxhall.
That was it.
We used to go to.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We often went to London for the weekend, of course. But,
sorry, just to go back, I haven't spoken to you at all. When did you come across?
1959.
1959.
We got evicted from our house in Dublin, and we had to leave with a bunch of stuff out on the road. And my father died a couple of years before, and there was no benefit system.
Yeah.
We got behind with the rent. So I had 3 brothers. We were out the street.
Oh.
And we moved in with an aunt.
Yeah.
Lived a mile or so away.
Yeah.
So my mother got some money from an aunt.
Yeah.
And me and the older brother came here.
Yeah.
We came with my mother, left the 2 younger boys behind.
Yeah.
And they come over later.
And you knew you were coming to Luton, did you?
Yeah. My mother had a brother here.
Oh,
And she knew there was work here, yeah.
yeah.
There was no work in Ireland.
Yeah.
I was a messenger boy
Yeah.
in the grocery shop. And I delivered groceries
Yeah.
all over Dublin.
Yeah.
I was 16, yeah.
So when you came over here, what was that like then? Did you join Vauxhall straight away? Or?
No, I got a job in the building site.
Yeah.
Pearson Parkers used to build bungalows in Luton.
Yeah.
And it was hard work, there was no machines.
Yeah.
It was all digging by hand, yeah.
It's interesting, they talk say the M1 was built by the Irish, don't they?
Well, we used to rub that into it.
Yeah.
I got homesick.
Oh, the M1
Joined the army.
Yeah.
Because we got free passes a year
Yeah.
to get back home.
Oh, okay.
So I joined the army, the British Army,
Oh, you did?
and British Regiment too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was in there for 9 years. And then I come out, I went into Vauxhall.
Yeah.
And I was only there 2 months when I got full holiday pay.
Yeah.
Because they looked after ex-soldiers, yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't stay very long, less than a year.
Yeah.
Because Chrysler's were paying better money then. And I moved there.
I think people did move around a bit, didn't they, for the money? Because you could
At
see
times you
Yeah,
could
yeah.
do that then.
I paid a bit better, yeah.
Yeah. So you were, and then did you work at Chrysler mostly after that?
I
or did
stayed there 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I worked for Irish contractors for about 25 years.
Yeah.
Driving lorries.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And my son, he had 2 lorries. I worked for him
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
At Redden Mix lorries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your family is now all in Luton. You brought your family up in
Yeah,
Luton.
yeah. I live local here in Whitetown.
Yeah. And are they still in Luton, your children? Are they still
Yeah.
here? Yeah. Yeah.
They went to the local schools here in Whitetown.
Yeah.
Sacred Heart,
Yeah.
Denby.
Yeah.
One went on to Essex University.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My pardon me for interrupting you. My grandfather and my mother's side of the family, he worked in London in the 19th century, no, before the 1900s, the 18th something. He came there laying tram rails. When I came to in 1952, they were digging the tram rails up and putting trolley buses or master buses there. She said, you know, with the entrance, she took me up London on Upper Holloway, you know, Holloway Road. That was the first time I seen they were digging up the tram rails. There were, you know, creosote blocks, you know, in between the tracks. So they were great for firewood because there was creosote, they were immersed in creosote, you know, to fight corrosion. But he went back, that was in the 1800s that my grandfather worked in laying tram rails in London.
Yeah.
But my mother had a couple of uncles also in London. They worked at the post office because there was a scholarship. You know, bright young sparse, about 14 years of age. They passed an examination for the British civil service.
Yeah.
Michael Collins was one, and there's some other. It was Sam Maguire that enrolled him in the Sinn Féin. My mother worked in, I think, St Mary's Hospital, Highgate Hill, and she had to go back down because she had suffered from migraine. And,
So you're almost second generation then, because you had the first wave from your parents, and then they went back.
My father was a different side, not the blood relation. My grandfather was a blood relation of my mother's.
Yeah.
Her father would be my grandfather. Then my father came from a different area, and he never learned to speak English until he went to school. They were Gaelic speakers.
Very good, very good.
I just God, I know you.
back home when I was in Ireland, you know, we always say, oh, we're going home. We always say home. Home is in Ireland, where you're born and reared, even though you were here so many years. But we also were home. Anyway, when I was at home at 16 years of age, I don't know why you never had, the boys did have the FCAs, part of the army. I did 5 years army. I did a guard of honour for the Taoiseach, the then Taoiseach, Sean Lamont, Lord of Mercy, and the President, Sean T. O'Kelly. He was a small man. That was 1957 or 8. So, you know, when we were young fellas around, but we went to a local hall, and the officer would come out from the Curragh and would, you know, put us to our bashing and training, and we did. Had the rifle and did all that. Yeah, it was good for the young fellas.
Did you miss it very much when you came? Because, I mean, I know you came because...
My wife used to give off to me, like he said, I'm going home. She said, this is your home. Like, you know what I mean? I was waiting for her to show me out. But no, that was it. And the thing was, like, I mean, when I went home to Ireland, like, I mean, I had a brand new car, and lads that never came over to England, you said, why are you over there? Why are you over there? Because I said, I've got a brand new car outside. I said, can I have a brand new car here? I said, you keep wanting to get the 6 counties. I said, why don't you look after the ones you've got, so I can come home? And I used to go mad about that. And my mum used to say, don't speak to people like that, because they don't like that. But it's true. It's true.
They wouldn't particularly want you to stay either, because they'd be taking a job off them, you know.
But there again, we used to do the Queen's car. We used to do it down in Kimpton Road. Like, I mean, we used to give her a car, and then we'd have it in for service and clean it and everything. And one day, one of the guys said to me, oh, the Queen's car's in today. So off I goes down there and have a look, like, you know. And it was just an ordinary car, but I thought, well, it's the Queen's. But in the driver's side, and sitting in it, this English guy came out and pulled me out of it. Don't you get into our Queen's car, like, you know what it is. Like,
what about a Cresta Estate? What about a Cresta Estate,
well, they used to put, never broke down, because we used to put all new parts into it. That's right.
Did you drive the car personally yourself?
Yes, I do.
You said earlier that you came over. Was there a real pathway then? There was a route. There were boats that came regularly with groups of people. Was that a sort of regular thing, or did you come over individually?
What do you mean, pathway?
Well, did you come over? Was there a ship that brought you over?
Oh yeah, we came on the Princess Maud.
The Princess
Maud.
And was that a regular trip? Did it go?
Oh yes,
anyone could get on it.
I came from the bottom part of Ireland. There was a different shipping company, the City of Cork Steam Packet Company. So they had a vessel called Innisfallen. There were 3 sailings a week between Cork City and Fishguard in West Wales. On the lower deck there was livestock. Similar to like the car next to the there weren't any drive-off ferries. There might be some flying between the north of Ireland and Scotland, drive-on, drive-off ferries, roll-on, roll-off. In 1969 there.
Do you think many people have gone back? Do you think many people who settled here, whose children, you know, like your children?
Well, I think a lot of them have retired back there because they've got still land from their parents. They're building houses. Houses over there are fantastic.
Mansions there.
I think a good lot of people were back in the 70s when Ireland joined the common market, and things were really beginning to look up over there. And an awful lot of people did return and get jobs in Ireland. And, you know, it's only in the last few years that immigration has restarted again, you know. And socially, the country did very, very well over that period. But now immigration is beginning to come back again, and you know. But the people who immigrate now are a different kind of a breed from
they're more educated
what we were. You know, their education is much better, of course.
Third level education.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So on reflection, then you would say that your children, your grandchildren have a far better education than you had.
Definitely.
And you would say that your families have been upwardly mobile. Would you say that they've all progressed? They've all. Do you think that?
Yeah, on my side, my son, yes.
There were no school buses in my time. In fact, I don't need to travel 2 miles to school, and the sisters had to do an extra mile because to the convent school on the other side of the town, and there were no school buses. Fancy a child about 5 years of age having to walk 3 miles to school.
Yeah.
I think somebody walked even further than some of the other. So wet that you couldn't put them on.
But I think we can say that the Irish community who came here did become upwardly mobile.
Yeah.
Whether that's general kind of, whether you can call that general throughout the country.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
But for those of you who've worked at Vauxhall, you would say that your children have done better than you've done.
Oh God,
and
yes.
progressed.
Yeah, he's only 30 odd, but yes, at the present moment, he's going places where
Yeah.
And I look back at what I did, as I said to you before, I worked my way up and got to be a supervisor, which was a great achievement for me. And even people at my home, they said, for someone who didn't have an education, you've done very well for yourself. Because I brought my son up, we went and had good holidays, went to America, went to Vegas, Germany. He was only 7, he was seeing all these places. I went to Bundoran for a day, that was my trip. The only time I had a trip was one day at Bundoran. And I never forgot.
Well, if you had ability, generally speaking, it was recognised, And I became a supervisor as well. But it was through hard work, I think, and application, and you learned as you went along, and you did your best, and you changed from job to job until you got a better occupation.
Did you do night school or?
I did, yes, I did. I did night school, but
Did Vauxhall fund that, or was that something you funded yourself?
When I went to, they started, as I just went up to be a supervisor, then they started that we're getting the university ones in. So we had to go to back to school and educate a bit on it, and some of it went over our heads. Well, mine especially, and that was, we were the first ones to do that. We got a certificate out of it as well at the end.
It was always, the facility was always there for you to go to night school and improve yourself. That was always there. Right? Whether it was our community in Ireland never really gave us any leadership whatsoever when we were coming here. They told us what to do. Just catch the boat at Holyhead and away you go and do your best to get off at Euston, and that's it. And walk around until you find a job, go to the building sites or go to all the factories and wear yourself out until you find a job. That was it. And because you had frig-all money in your pocket for a start, you might have a £5 note or something left, and that was it. But you were on your. That's the one thing about the whole. You were on your own. Generally, you were on your own. You had to make your own way, and that was your life. It was up to yourself. Some people fell by the wayside, I'm afraid, and didn't do all that.
Do you feel that that's changed in terms of your parenting of your children? That you've been much more able to support them?
Well, to see more life. We could money-wise, we could help them better.
But in terms of guidance as well.
Oh God, yes.
You've been able to be there a bit
you can, because my son said, he said, you keep saying that you're stupid. He says, you're quite a clever person. And that was, I always felt I was always stupid, well, in myself I did, because that's how it was battered into me. My mum was battering me, the nuns were battering me.
No confidence.
No confidence, you see.
That's what
and he said to me, he says, no, Dad, he says, you know a lot, and you're helping me along as I'm going along. And even now, as I say, he's got a good job and everything like that, when he has somebody, a top boss, starting to boss him about too much and giving him too much to do, I can advise him what to do. And he said, like a simple thing, I said to him, when he comes down with a load of work to you, say, which one would you like me to start on? Not say, yes, I'll do it all, because you can't do it all. You have to start at the beginning and do one at a time.
But that's so different from your
no, that's it. Yes.
And that's the thing I mean. I sort of, from your own progression, you've been able to have you, or do you feel you've been able to give that support to your children?
Support.
That's it. Yes.
Whether the children became as Irish as we are, that's completely another question entirely. You know, I mean, we stuck to our principle, or we stuck to our identity. We brought our identity with us, and we still have it, and we cling to that. But whether the offspring of the next generation would cling to that, I doubt it very, very much. You know, so that's a subject I think.
I doubt it very much as well. They're brought up here, so.
Yeah, but do you feel you were able to give your children more support through the next stages, through education?
Well, they're nearly as old as me now, so I can't tell them. They tell me.
But when they were younger?
Oh, when they were younger, I brought out them to behave themselves. Learn all they can in school and behave yourselves. Be, answer the teacher.
Did you feel you were more around for them than your parents?
Oh yes, it was always there, except when I was at work. I was never out of work. I was in a job anyway. Yeah, but when I was there, So.
And is that very different from your upbringing then? Do you think that was a...
Oh yes, it was the way we were, exactly. Yeah. I blame the parents today, the way kids are, what they do. It's the parents. The parents, I blame the parents, and I think we all would agree.
Yeah. And how do you feel? Do you feel you were able to give your children support and through the early years in their school? Yeah. Well, I must have done it though.
You give them support, whether they support you is another question.
Before the advent of television, that the youngsters used to study harder at home. Now they're addicted to watching television.
Yeah. Now it's computers.
Computers. That's what my son helps me with as well.
Well,
he knows all that.
There's a use it helps them in later life, so maybe it does, I don't know. Well, thank you so much. That's been really brilliant, really helpful. So thank you. I hope you've been okay.
If you'll have patience for a few minutes.
Yeah.
I have a verse which relates to the social setup at Vauxhall, or the way social life kind of went. And I would it's 7 pages long, but I would like to recite it if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I'm very happy. So.
Yeah. Nice. But I can't remember the words of it, so.
He is a bit of a poet,
that. The poem is called Murphy and his Passport. Now, the way we Irish, especially, I think, lots of people in general, leave everything until the very, very last minute before we do anything about it. So this is a case of Murphy, and he was working in Vauxhall, and he had lots of Vauxhall friends, and this is what happened to him. Murphy had been waiting for this day, he sure did long, for he was going foreign to run the Brussels Marathon. His English friends were ready, Vauxhall friends were ready, passport all to hand, but complicated forms now Murphy didn't always understand. Go down the old post office, said George. He seemed to know. You get your passport application, you'll then be set to go. Time was running out, this passport must be got, so he got his application form and he filled in the bloody lot. It was not very long before confusion raised its head. You've got the wrong birth certificate, the lady at the counter said. Your name is not Jacinta, she said, with a slightly mocking smile. Ah, bloomin' hell, said Murphy. His face was looking fine. So back he went to Wallet's Bank to retrieve the situation, located his birth certificate, and returned to redeem his reputation. Proudly he placed his credentials for attention, but the lady at the counter seemed troubled, dare I mention. She called her supervision. They got together in a huddle. Ah, bloody hell, said Murphy. Not another blooming muddle. The lady eyed him with suspicion. Mr. Murphy, you'll have to understand, you cannot have a British passport, for you come from Ireland. Ah, well, be the Janie, said Murphy. Why am I the only one? All I want to do is to go to Brussels for to run a marathon. You'd have to go to London, to the Irish Embassy report, present them your credentials, and they will give you your passport. So time was running out as the story changes scene. He got a coach to London, a place he'd seldom been. I'm looking for the embassy, says he, in a place called Grosvenor Square. The copper eyed him with suspicion, but eventually he got there.
Grosvenor Square, the medical embassy.
The lady at the embassy was poised and dressed in style. She checked his papers through, then told him with a smile, Mr. Murphy, we are very busy. Please return again at 4. Murphy wasn't happy. I'll wait, says he, and he hung about the door. Passport wasn't ready till well gone 4:30. Murphy was so angry, starving, tired and thirsty. I should be on my way to Brussels now, he roared. His voice was really ringing as he bolted out that bloody door to his passport cling. He caught the coach to Luton to finalise his preparation, but a traffic jam at Watford made him wild with desperation. His mates were waiting at the station, looking up and down, while Murphy blocked the motorway, cars and lorries all around. His mates were in a frenzy when at last he reached the station. Oh, bloody hell, said Murphy. I'm dying of starvation. Meet us at Victoria, his mate said. By the clock tower, we'll be waiting. As Murphy hit for Wallet's Bank, his words I'm not repeating. He got his gear together, took a taxi to the town. His wife was shouting after him, are you mad or just a clown? When he reached Victoria, for this clock tower, he looked around, but he could be looking yet, for his mates were nowhere to be found. He searched the station up and down, looking for the train to Dover, but the porter told him it was gone. The story is nearly over. He threw himself into a chair, old Murphy, how he tried. Then he headed back for Wallet's Bank, and a little tear he cried. Weary, worn and tattered, he laid himself to rest. Are you thick or what? Said Betty, but he'd really done his best. But his slumber was disturbed at the deadly hour of 3. The phone had started ringing. Jesus, whoever can that be? His mates were at the other end. What was the situation? For they badly needed Murphy, for he had booked the accommodation. But persuasion they regaled him, saying, he still had time to go. So he upped and got his I will be God. I'll have another go. He caught the train to London. Again for Brussels he was bound. But he was feeling better now, lean and touchy as a hound. Life seemed filled with hope once more. As Dover came to view, I want to get to Brussels, sir. Whatever do I do? Oh, to Calais, catch the jet foil, sir. The porter never moved from where he said. Jet foil, thought Murphy, what the bloody hell is that? The confusion, it was mighty, and Murphy looked aghast. But he resolved the situation, and he got on board at last. So he bundled through the train, his baggage in his hand. First class, he muttered. Ah, well, I'd be damned. But he found himself a seat beside a shapely, homely wench. But the sweat was pouring through him, and it gave off quite a stench. The wench was not too happy, for she suddenly arose. The whiff that came from Murphy was getting up her nose. The vibes were none too friendly now, but Murphy stood his ground. He ate another sandwich as he had a look around. But Brussels, it was beckoning, as darkness turned to light. His mates were on the platform, and they cheered with wild delight. For Murphy was a hero now. At last he'd reached his goal. He didn't win the marathon, but his story has been told. I'm sorry so long.